When a person faints and then everyone runs away, and I would think, why are they not helping this person? And I was that person who would go and want to see what is happening with this person. At times I would not even know what to do. They would say if a person is having a condition of fainting, they must put a pen inside the mouth and all those things. Or a spoon.
Yeah.
So I learned all these things from a very young age, and I would look and think, yo, this is amazing. Life is amazing. People who are not even professionals at times would be able to solve such problems. Then I thought, maybe as I grow up, I need to follow something that has to do with healthcare. I was working in the hospital. I was also working for the university part-time as a part-time lecturer. I was also studying, doing my PhD. I was also doing my nursing education. So I did 4 things last year. And on the day when I was finishing with that, I just burst into tears, and I thought that was hectic. But then I ulala emotweni 4 in the morning.
You're tired.
Oh, winter. You're thinking sleeping in the car is cool and nice.
Yeah.
Sitting there. I never thought a car can be that cold in my life. So never attempt sleeping in the car without a blanket. I wanted to cry last year, June. My toes were freezing, and I had to go write an exam at 8 o'clock in the morning that day.
The Groundbreakers, Mondays to Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. on TUT FM.
27 minutes before the hour, 8 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And once again, let me remind you that if you just tuned in into your radio station, please do know that you are listening to TUT FM 96.2, amplifying voices, empowering lives. And this is another edition of Plug a Graduate right here on Groundbreakers. And I have to say, this show is one of those shows that one has to listen into, because we're speaking and definitely trying by all necessary means to bridge the gap between graduates and their potential employers. And for tonight's conversation, we are then speaking to Mr. Siyanda Ngema, who is now a lecturer at the Sefako Makgatho Healthcare Sciences University. A short brief bio about who this gentleman is. I have to tell you that he's a dedicated nursing professional and academic who is passionate about holistic healthcare and education. Born in Eshowe, KwaZulu-Natal, Mr. Siyanda has established himself as a healthcare enthusiast. He's like I did mention, he's a lecturer at the Sefako Makgatho Healthcare Sciences University and the School of Healthcare Sciences. Mr. Ngema, good evening and welcome to TUT FM.
Thank you very much. I feel so happy to be here, and thanks for such a good bio.
Definitely, and we do apologize for the heat. You did see that the South African Weather Services did mention that this week is going to be, would we say, hell on earth with the
I think Brother Enigma will give it.
Yes, to say no.
He's been saying a lot about this.
I want to start off this conversation and then say what led, or where did the love for nursing come from? Because I think you look into South Africa, they would see it as something that is not male dominated. To say when men then go into nursing, they kind of look at it as somehow to say, but where's Allah?
100%, yeah. Thank you once again. I always say it started from my grandmother, and it's always sometimes hard to believe. My grandmother was a nurse. She used to work in theatre, where they do operations for people who are in need of surge, in Catherine Booth Hospital in the rural area in Eshowe, like has been said. And my grandmother will come back from work quite a lot of times, and she will tell me about the stories of what happens in the hospital, how much they save lives of patients in the hospital. And I was always, enticed by this experience. At times, I would even go through her books. I remember there were books which has to do with midwifery, which has to do with delivering of babies in the hospital. So I would look at these books and think, how amazing can this thing be? At times when we talk about these things, and she will tell me about the most severe and the situations where you think this was a very hard to solve situation. But as young as I was at this time, I was in primary school between grade 1 to grade 5 when I just stayed with my grandmother, and then she would share all these things, and I thought this was something worth doing. Yeah. But then growing up from there, then I realized that I think I always say I'm soft at heart, because even in with my friends, I used to be quite a very reserved guy. When we would go to Nkomeni with my friends, Maktiwa, there's things to do with fights. I would try and not really want to fight, but sometimes they will force me into fighting and say, hey, because you are this height, gonna fight with this guy. But I always know was against this thing, even though it was a training of young boys, but I was always thinking it's not good to hurt somebody. Instead, I would want to help others. Then I learned also as I was growing up, then I had a condition called epistasis, whereby you have a nose bleeding forever. So I bleed. I think I last bled from my nose a couple of 3 weeks ago when I had flu. So I bleed a lot. So also that built a piece in me to think, if I have a condition that I've been trying to get assisted with and trying to get help from, but I don't get helped, what about people who are in the hospitals who need this kind of care, who need to be helped, to get better from conditions? And then as time went on, those things were building into this whole thing. As time went on, when then I was growing up, when I'm in the mall, then I will see a person fainting. When a person faints, and then everyone runs away, and I would think, why are I not helping this person? Then I was that person who would go and want to see what is happening with this person. At times I would not even know what to do. They will say if a person is having a condition of fainting, they must put a pen inside the mouth and all those
or
things.
A spoon.
Or a spoon.
Yeah.
So I learned all these things from a very young age, and I would look and think, this is amazing. Life is amazing. People who are not even professionals at times will be able to solve such problems. Then I thought, maybe as I grow up, I need to follow something that has to do with healthcare. I was laughing a couple of days ago when I was talking to my partner, and I was telling her that in my application for going to varsity, all the specific programs that I applied for, they were within healthcare. So I knew from the very beginning when I was in grade 10 that I wanted to pursue something which I related to healthcare. Luckily, I ended up in nursing. And there's a lot that led me into nursing.
We can definitely refer you to Dr. Sean Murphy from The Good Doctor. Always knew from a very young age that this is something that they want to pursue. And ladies and gentlemen, like I did say, our conversation is centered around the role of lifelong learning. We're going to start with a couple of questions centered around the role of lifelong learning in promoting personal growth. And the first question I'll pose to you then is, in this ever changing world, how can then lifelong learning enhance one's or individual's adaptability to unexpected life events and transitions? What would you then say to that?
Thank you very much once again. When I was in high school, I had different teachers who were teaching English, grade 8, grade 9. It was different guys all together. And then I used to be enticed by the language when they speak English. But this is something so interesting, the way they will flow. And then other subjects, I did love them as much, but English was just the one which was very close to my heart. And then one of the days when we started with our grade 10, our English teacher then said, hey, you need to strive for excellence all the time. And I thought, why would this guy say this to us? And we were writing a maths exam on the day when he was saying this as he passed next to me. And I thought, okay. Then when we were done, then he asked me to come into the office, and he said, you have a great potential, and you need to ensure all the time that you never relax wherever you are. You need to strive for excellence. You need to be above what others are doing. You must, try and achieve above normalcy. And then from that day, I took that with me. And every time I'm at home, my stepmother all the time as well always emphasize on, you need to make sure in life that you do more. You try and not be adaptive to what is happening, but do more than what is happening. And then now I think I'm in a lucky space whereby also I've been exposed to quite a lot of things happening in the world, and then I always then try and strive to achieve more than just what I'm doing. When I was an undergraduate student, I always thought I was going to be a nephrology nurse and deal with kidneys in the hospital and just be that guy. And as I was exposed into the hospital, then as time went on, I met a lady. She's now in her pension. I think she must be 68, 69. Then I was allocated to her as my mentor in the workspace as a new employee. And she said, you have a great potential, and you must make sure that you don't become like others.
Strive for excellence.
Exactly. Strive for excellence. You should aim at not being like any other people. You do not belong here. Now, you imagining it's my first month working in a ward, but I'm told you do not belong here, you belong somewhere. So then I asked, how do I then make myself, a good diamond out of this area? Then she said, you need to learn. You need to try by all means that, you capacity yourself with good skills, with good knowledge, so that you can leave this place ready. But in going there as well, you need to not rush the process.
Oh, beautiful.
She always said that. There was a time, so what happens in our ward where we work with kidneys is we take care of patients who are having kidney failure.
Kidney failures, yeah, kidney stones and all of that.
Yeah, but specifically here, it's people who cannot have a kidney function at all. Their kidney function has less than 15% function in them. And then it means you need like a critical skills to be able to take care of these people. Yeah. And everyone in the ward where I was working was specialized. I was the only person who was new, and I must say also I was the first one of my kind to come from varsity and work in that particular space. So I had to learn to be humble by all means. But then in that, when they tried to give me some of the duties that require somebody to be independent in the space, she made sure that I was protected from that. She said, I cannot be exposed to those things because I'm still not yet ready to take care of such patients alone. Even though I knew that I was good, I was going to be able to do it, but she had to protect me from doing things that may put me in danger at the time. And she said, let me hold you by hand, and then we're going to marshal into this thing together. And I always, go all the time to one quote that says, you need to learn that there are 3 steps in life. I think we're going to talk about that quite a lot today, which says, first you learn, then you learn, you learn, you earn, and then you return. I think those are things that we have to look at today as we go. But that is what I had been doing at the time. And from then, I've been then holding on to those words on how do I then move myself into the profession. And every time when there's a chance, I try and by all means to move outside that. I met her a couple of months ago and I told her, can you believe now that from the day I met you, I have 3 other degrees.
What did she say? What was her sentiment towards that?
She said, I always told you that you need to do more than what you were doing at the time. I saw it for you at the time that you did not belong in the area where you were. So you need to always, by all means, try and, rise above the sea level.
And I love what you say strive for academic excellence. It reminds me of Professor Tenyoko Maluleke, I think 2 weeks or 3 weeks back when we were at the Maslow itself for academic excellence. He was then quoting a poem by a poet, the Welsh poet Thomas Dillon. He was then saying you have to rage against academic mediocrity. Make sure that you strive for academic excellence. And I would bring in the question to say, with now an estimated 85% of jobs that will not be yet existing within 2030, how does then continuous learning prepare individuals for a future filled with unknowns?
The thing is, I always say, when you are venturing into a particular field, I read something a couple of weeks ago which said you should try by all means not to dive into something and try to perform when you're not ready.
Oh, yes.
Right. So what then people have to do by all means is when you join a specific stream, a specific profession or a specific career path or profession, you need to ensure by all means that you first have your own goal of what you want to do in there. Yeah. You do your research into that, into thinking, okay, this is what is existing and how do I come with something new? And then you try by all means to collaborate with people who are already within the space, to try by all means that whatever that you do is not very far from what is, achievable. When we start setting goals, you always say, what is this? You have to create goals which are smart.
Yeah.
So in that process, you try by all means that your goals are aligning with that. Now, we are in an ever-changing technology space.
True.
I think everyone who is trying to come with something new have to try by all means to adapt, to say, how does what you do now evolve towards promoting technology in the space where you are? And then with so doing, then you can be a person who's going to competitive in the future.
True, yeah.
I always say in my space of work, even when I do research, I always say I look to 2030 Sustainable Development Goals from the World Health Organization. They say all UNZ countries must adopt to that. So there is always something that I'm referencing to as I'm trying to work today, to say every day when I'm living, when I'm doing something, where does it lead to? So that in future, even when I'm supervising undergraduate students, I'm leading them towards that, to understand that. The other day, I think I was having quite, I was underwater and I was really stressed, because the area where I'm working as a lecturer is a new space altogether. And then I gave my students an assignment and said, please write for me the kind of a specialty that you want to specialize in when you are done with your undergraduate. And then they all wrote quite a lot of impressive things. And there was one student who wrote, as Mr. Ngema always say, he trains us not to be competent only in South Africa, not only in Africa, but competitive to the world.
International.
So whatever that everyone is doing needs to make sure that it aligns with what's happening outside of their comfort zone, but also into the world. How does it add value in that process?
Speaking of sustainable goals, do you believe or think that South Africa is closer to achieving those goals?
The question is very broad because there's a lot of them. And my goal all the time, I always look at goal number 3, which is about better healthcare and good health for everyone in the world.
True,
and also number 8, which focuses on better education and everything.
So glad that you still remember them. I dealt with them, I think, in 2021. Cannot remember them, but I do know whether they're 17 or 15, if I'm not
17.
17, yeah.
I'm very fond of them because I always say, they are the foundation of what we do every day. South Africa, we are, a middle upper income country.
True.
So some of the things I cannot really say we are close into them as much, given that we have a lot of things which are being changed. Particularly, I'll talk in the health space.
Yeah.
We are now having an NHI which is coming, and everyone is always against it. And others are trying to pull towards it, others are pulling away from it. Because of a lot of reasons, people believe that we are not ready for these things. But what also leads into such things is because of the lack of transparency in whatever that is happening in the country. So it's hard to do those things. Part of my PhD, is aiming at improving some space in the health sector. But I could not find the information that could help me, define a problem around. I would say, this is what is happening in this area where I'm researching. But I don't have a database where I can go and say this is based on this. So then it's difficult to then try and measure on your corner and say, this is how far we are, because we don't have a database which is then giving us a clear view or understanding of things. People always even complain and say, every time we have a disease in South Africa, it disappears and then we're not told what is happening.
What happened to it? The listeriosis.
Exactly.
We just went back, started eating rations. We couldn't mind.
COVID came, same thing happened.
Yes.
No one told us.
Took off our masks and went on. Yeah.
Now I don't even have a privilege of not queuing in the shops anymore. When I'm in the retailers, I can't say no because I'm a nurse. I need to be given
essential worker.
Exactly. And during that time I was enjoying it, but suddenly the privilege was taken away.
Yeah.
And the information is the same that happens in the information. Then we don't know what happens. So it's hard to really grade and say how far are we as a country when it comes to sustainable development goals. But I think we are trying. That's what I would say. And I believe every health worker in the country should try and strive to go through that, and then we can say, okay, maybe we can try by 2030. It's too close.
It's too close. 5 years from now on. And I'll definitely pick your mind coming to the NHI. We had a lot of guests come in here. They were giving different views. I'll pick your mind on that.
No problem.
And then we're then saying with the following question, in what ways does continuous learning contribute to one's journey of self-discovery and also fulfillment, especially considering studies that show that lifelong learners report higher levels of satisfaction and purpose in life. So how does pursuing new knowledge contribute to personal happiness? Because I always say my motto in life is that I have to acquire knowledge and share it.
100%. Oh, myself and Mandaba is my partner.
Okay, yes.
So Mandaba, we decided, you know what? We are always bored sometimes when we don't have much things to do. I used to play soccer a lot with my friends, and then I stopped this year because of a lot of commitments.
Yeah.
And then we thought, just a few weeks ago, let's start playing tennis.
That's a white man's sport.
Exactly.
People say, that's a white man. Sports for the rich.
So she hooked me into that tennis sport. So we went into the shops. She was the one who was purchasing the tennis balls and
rackets
all these rackets
yeah.
things. And as we were looking towards that, we were so excited because we are learning something new, something that we both haven't been exposed to as much.
True.
And looking on TV, when we see, I always laugh at her when we are busy now trying to train ourselves. And then she says, I always thought Serena Williams is doing these things because it's so easy. The way she can just, it looks so easy.
True.
But now we are deep into it ourselves, and then we're like, oh no, even now my muscles are painful.
Yeah.
Because we trained 2 days back, but I'm so tired. Now, but when I leave that place, when we walk away from the court together, we smiled and thinking we are getting somewhere. There was the first day when we were doing it, and then it was so bad. Our tennis balls were going out of the court. Have you seen how high those courts are? About 3-4 meters up? But we kept on taking it out of the court, and then we keep on teaching each other and training each other into saying, no, try and position yourself like this and do that. So as a person who likes learning new things, and then in there you start feeling this satisfaction. The more you try and control the ball into the position where you want it to be, then you realize that actually learning something new or getting yourself out of your corner, because when you're trying to learn something new, you take yourself out of your corner, and then you then start now to begin to see that there is more to this than what I thought of it to be.
True.
But the problem now is we tend to be, as people, not want to sit too long in the space of being learners. We'll rush into earning instead of learning first. And even ourselves, I always see when we're playing this tennis that we want to get to the stage whereby I'm Roger Federer,
she's Serena Williams.
But every time then we fell into something. The other day we said, let's try and do at least 20. We're going to try and serve the ball towards each other 20 times without a mistake. So we kept on playing. Even at 7, it fails. When at 13, it fails. At 19, we fail. And then we start thinking, how do we then try and make this thing work? We're like, we are not going to leave this court until we get into the 20. But then you can see in there that even though we are learners, we both have our degrees in our specific fields, but now there is this impatience that wants to take us from learning into earning. We want to now already perfect something that we just started. Then you're going to lose the gist of then enjoying this learning process. This is why students then they start at times not wanting to study during the year, because they are rushing into the results. Then they wait in the last time, and then they try and cram
December,
so they can jump the step.
Yeah.
I said earlier that you need to enjoy the learning part, spend more time in that, and then don't compare yourself to other people. Because the reason why we want to jump into earnings, because we look at ourselves at people who are stars in the game and thinking this is where we want to get to. And I believe that that's what everyone has to try and channel themselves towards, to say try and learn. Learning is the most important part, because then in the learning part you're never gonna stop learning in whatever field that you are involved in.
I tried playing volleyball in 2016. I'm not a sports person. I'm not a sports person, but I tried. I was like, man, let me try something new. Volleyball. I think they served 3 or 4 times. I was like,
you're leaving this thing.
This thing is not for me. And I love what you're saying, because now we take time during the course of the year. People are not really studying.
100%.
We want to study given October, when we know that in November we're starting exams. Then you see people going into the libraries,
100%.
cross-nighting, and I tried. I'm not a library person, definitely cannot try. But then also we bring in this point that I've seen a couple of surveys that reveal that approximately 84% of curious employees feel more engaged at work. What role do you think curiosity plays, right, in promoting a culture of lifelong learning and personal growth?
University in particular. I said university.
Work environment.
Oh, okay. I think it goes back into that one of.
You can continue. It's fine.
Okay,
you can continue.
I was saying something. Yeah, I think then it goes back into that one of the commitment into a particular field. Can you repeat the question?
The question was saying 84% of curious employees feel more engaged at work. So the question there is, what role do you think curiosity plays in promoting a culture of lifelong learning and personal growth?
Okay, 100%. Thank you very much. Like I said earlier, as human beings, we enjoy when we achieve something. Right, so the more curious you are, the better you're going to try and look for information that is going to encompass you into somebody who's going to be a better person. Right, and we always say we need to strive by all means to be better students. So then if you be a better student, or a student who's always asking questions. Even in my class, I always look at students, the one who pose questions that are, I'll say, thought-provoking, or that creates cognitive dissonance, is the one I want to engage with. And say, hey, you know what, you need to continue doing this of asking questions and trying to be curious, because then that is what is going to open avenues into what you want to do in the profession. And I believe that also I am where I am today as a young employee or a young academic, because I'm engaged in research. Every time I'm always curious, what can be different, what can be found in this space. So that curiosity, I've taken that out of my own personality into academia to think, okay, every time something comes, I want to write about it, but I channel it into my space of kidney care and nephrology department, so that from then I have to go and ask questions, and then I look into the literature on what has been published about this and where is the gap, and that is where then a person comes and say you achieve what you want to achieve from there.
Unlike us, I don't think I asked questions in class. I've always sat behind, put a beanie over my eyes. So I was like, I can't do this. Ladies and gentlemen, it has gone definitely 3 minutes before the hour 8 o'clock. I remind you that you are tuned in to TUT FM 96.2. We're amplifying voices, empowering lives, and this is another edition of Plug a Graduate right here on the Groundbreakers, and we're speaking to Mr. Siyanda Ngema, who's a lecturer at the Sefako Makgatho Healthcare Sciences University. Take a quick break and we'll definitely be back. Once again, welcome back, and let me remind you that you are tuned in to TUT FM 96.2, amplifying voices, empowering lives, another edition of the Groundbreakers, Plug a Graduate, and tonight we are speaking to Mr. Siyanda Ngema, who is a lecturer at the Sefako Makgatho Healthcare Sciences University. And please do send in those questions and follow us on social media. Get us on our WhatsApp line on 012-382-9257. I'll repeat that, it's 012-382-9257. And on Facebook, we're still live at TUT FM 96.2, X, formerly known as it's Twitter. We are TUT FM _962. Instagram also the same, TUT FM _962. You can definitely give us a call on our studio line on 012-382-9719. Mr. Ngema, we're going back into that question, and I'm sure that this hit you're feeling it. My grandmother used to say that Satan is coming. We're definitely gonna ban. Stop.
Sure, what I'll be
definitely gonna say now. How can individuals effectively incorporate life learning into their daily lives, amidst a busy schedule? You are saying that you are a very busy man, and, schedules and responsibilities. I mean, talk to us about how do you then do it as a PhD candidate? You are a lecturer as well, and so do you ever find time to ever learn anything new outside your area of expertise?
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to time management, I'm getting emotional. I want to say, I said this to the other group a couple of weeks ago, and I got so emotional when I talked about it, and I said, I used to sleep in my car. That thing that they use of, I used to sleep in my car. And we make this statement sound like when you sleep in your car, you're a rich person. Last year, when I was working in the hospital, I was working in the hospital. I was also working for the university part-time as a part-time lecturer. I was also studying, doing my PhD. I was also doing my nursing education. So I did 4 things last year. And on the day when I was finishing with that, I just burst into tears, and I thought that was hectic. I think last year around July, when I was preparing for an exam, I went to the library because of lack of time management in the process. I had prepared myself, then I thought, I'm gonna be fine, I'm gonna write this thing. Then a few days before writing, then I was panicking. Went to work, finished work, went to the library soon after. Then ngayolala emotweni. 4 in the morning.
You're tired.
Oh, winter. You're thinking sleeping in the car is cool and nice.
Yeah.
Sitting there. I never thought a car can be that cold in my life. It's so never attempt sleeping in the car without a blanket. I wanted to cry last year, June. My toes were freezing, and I had to go write an exam at 8 o'clock in the morning that day. Then I realized, when somebody's saying I need to sleep in my car, it's not a child's play. Actually, something very hard. It's a hectic process to do. But now going back to factors of, how do you incorporate this lifelong learning thing into our careers and also into other things. I'm going to go back into what you mentioned earlier when it comes to curiosity. The more you're curious about things, is the more you are going to want to know more about them. And I learned also that now when you try and learn all these new things, you try and, you develop self-discipline.
Oh, yes,
true. A person who wants to try into new things, you become creative and become a critical thinker. One person always say, Jordan Peterson, the problem in our society now is that we have people who don't want to think.
True.
Right. And it has been made to be like a bad thing that people should think critically. And I don't understand why is it wrong to think critically. I think this is why I'm not part of the politics. But we'll go back to that one later.
Jordan Peterson always makes us feel like we're not doing enough.
Exactly, all the time. So it's that thing, those things that you learn your creativity, you become a critical thinker, you become a person who's actually, well time managed when you are a person who tries to be a lifelong learner, and also you become good at problem solving. You have good solving skills, and you adapt to situations quite better if you are a person who's a lifelong learner. Because when also we do the lifelong learning thing, we don't want to say go to school and then get your master's, get your PhD and stuff. But in life yourself, where you are, do you always upgrade yourself into becoming a better person?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the policies, the protocols, the guidelines in whatever that you are involved in? When I was just sitting here before I got onto the radio, I was listening to the lady on this issue.
The podcast.
The bargaining thing of the person saying they've been part-time employed for the past 19 years or something.
True.
And then you're thinking, did this person not know their rights in the process? Because it becomes hard that you can exercise a right of something that you are not knowledgeable of.
True.
So it's that thing of then the more you become a lifelong learner is the more you have your windows open.
Yes,
and you get skills of being able to collaborate with people who are going to encompassate yourself with quite more other things. Myself also, when it comes to lifelong learning, I realized as I was a nurse that I thought I wanted to be a good speaker. And in that, it's a specialty of itself, just being a speaker.
Definitely true. People go to training. I always find it they say we have to come there and train you guys. I'm like, to speak.
You can easily speak, and it's not as easy.
Yes.
Then I met a gentleman called Busiso Molibi. Kudos to him. He charged me a certain fee when I had to have a meeting with him for an hour. I'm like, why would a person charge me for just wanting to have a meeting with him? But later I learned that, okay, now I'm jumping into a new space which I'm not knowledgeable about, and I want to learn this thing of public speaking.
True.
And from what I was in 2016 when I started being a public speaker to today, there's quite a difference in that. But in the process of learning, I kept on trying to get as much resources in the process. The more also I'm doing, the more I'm meeting people who want to introduce me to better opportunities in that, and people who even want to sometimes they say, but you did not do this thing right.
True.
Try and do this. I'm a fast speaker in general. When I talk very fast. But I learned that then I can't speak fast when I'm speaking to public.
You need to calm
down and lower my tone and try and not speak so fast. Even my English was not as like this before. Not to say now I'm perfect, but my English has improved from that time.
Yeah, true.
And I always say it's because of then I keep on reading books. The more I read these books, the more they open my mind. The more I listen to other speakers, is the more then I'm learning the skill in that particular field. But should I not, try and get resources which are going to support me in that, I don't think I'll become a better person in that particular pursuit of being a speaker. It's those things, and then the more you get those things, the more you get an exposure, people would want to work with you.
And also myself, I'm a very fast speaker. I
could tell a bit.
Definitely very fast. And I remember I was trying to become a tutor after matric, and then I walked into a class and I said fast, and some kid was like, no, chief, no, we are tired. we are tired. We can't. So, but then I guess some people will then say they often lose motivation, along their way. Sometimes the demands of their jobs doesn't really leave them with the ample time and energy to continue their journey of long life learning. What you then propose are some ways to stay motivated and committed to, continuous learning over the long term.
Avoid by all means doing many things at the same time. Try and cool down in whatever that you're trying to do. Do not compare yourself to other people, like I said earlier. The reason why people then will start losing motivation and because they are trying to do more than one thing at the same time, and then you lose motivation the more you fail. And if possible, try and set the smallest of goals in the pursuit whatever that you are doing, and then that will give you a bit of time to focus on one issue at hand.
True.
And if you're actually starting something new, you try and do that. One of my colleagues a couple of months ago said, "You are so quiet this year. This past months you've been so quiet. Why?
What's
so
happening?
Quiet? What's happening?
Yeah.
I'm like, I realized that I don't know as much as I thought I knew when I got into a nursing education space as a lecturer. Being in the hospital, I could speak dialysis, I could speak nephrology in my deepest of sleep. 5 o'clock in the morning, wake me up, I'll just go into that thing.
Yeah.
Now, when I was in the space of then being a nurse educator, then I realized I don't know much. The more we go through the things, then you realize I need to learn in this. So in trying to learn, then you need to, hold yourself back, try and observe more than trying to be a teacher who is a learner. You become a learner more than you become a teacher.
Yeah.
Because you can't teach what you don't know.
True, definitely.
So then you start sitting back and then you look into that. And then you try and channel yourself into that one particular pursuit. For the past 5-6 years, I've always been doing more than one job, being a student, being a thing.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, because of now I'm studying something that I'm not so familiar with, but it's something I want to do for the longest of time, I need to then sacrifice not doing other jobs on the side. Let me give myself 2024 and focus specifically on this so that by the time the 2024 ends, at least I've gained a bit of skills, which I can also then later try and impact on other people to try and learn from that. So it's those things. Our lecturer on nursing education used to say, when you are a learner, when you are a teacher, as a lecturer, you need to develop, you must be intellectually humble. Ooh. Right. And in being intellectually humble, you are a person who can reflect. You go into your corner and be thinking, what did I do wrong today?
What did I miss?
What did I miss?
Yeah.
What did I do right that I can do better than I did today? And it calls for being humble to do that. You find in most corporations that people would fight with their subordinates because of they lack sometimes that skill of what did I do wrong? How do I do it better? My students this year sometimes, would lock horns there and there. And I realized, what is it that I'm doing wrong about this? Then I learned, no man, I'm a serious guy and I'm at work. I want something close to perfection. I'm very strict with time, and then I don't open room for a bit of fun.
True.
Because some things they need a bit of
to
fun.
Lose your guard a bit.
Don't be too serious on these students. They are just, undergraduates. And then one of the days I went to one of the lecturers in the department, Dr. Ngema. She is one of the senior lecturers in the department. And she said, one of the things that can make your student loosen up is just doing quiz with them. Like quiz games. You can use quiz games. But then, because you're learning that I'm a new lecturer who started lecturing full time this year. Over the years, I was doing it part-time. So, then I took a quiz game and I made those kids play a quiz game. I have a recording on my phone of that. They were so happy. They were so happy, and you could tell. And every time when now I have to teach in other classes, they want me to introduce the quiz all the time. Like, but you can't do quiz all the time.
Yes,
the Kahoots and all those things. And then you sit and think, you need not to be too serious with yourself sometimes. Yes, you do what you do, but you need to be so serious.
True.
And then in there, then also now the fact that I had to go to someone else and find ways of how do I do this better. It's that collaboration of you humble yourself into saying, this one I need and I cannot continue further. Please assist me. Then they will say, no, try and introduce this, and it works.
And you did speak about the year ending, want to bring in to say shortly after this month, the people will then be making New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
But we do know that only 8% of people stick to the New Year's resolution. I, for one, I stopped doing those things a long time ago. But are there any strategies that can help people sustain their learning commitments beyond initial enthusiasm?
I think there are ways, but first it starts with, where does one want to go to? I think it's impossible to leave this place without a direction. When I was coming here, the first thing that I know this space is in Soshanguve, and I've driven in Soshanguve quite a lot of times. But when I left Harangu, I had to look and think, okay, how do I get to there? There's going to be traffic there and there, so I need a map for me to get there. Then if there is no map, we can't move. So people need to first have a goal on, this is where I want to get to. This is my land of honey. And I always ask students when they want to start with their degrees, and especially even they're doing masters, I have a lot of interactions with those. And I'll be like, what is your land of honey and juice? What is it? Where are you going to be there? You're going to pride yourself and say, now I've gotten there,
Yeah.
and I need to move. Then it's there to start from there. And I don't know if people realize this. Am I allowed to say this on air? To say each and every achievement expires every 5 years that you have.
True.
As you are sitting here with me right now, you don't even remember how your matric certificate looks like. You can't even pride yourself with it when you want to brag. even if you want to go to get girls outside, you're like, okay, I have a matric, I got 7 A's.
Yeah.
They'll be like, and then what is it now?
What is it now? True.
Everyone wants something more than that.
True, yes.
So that thing of lifelong learning then begins from there. Every 5 years, you should try to do
true,
something more than
definitely.
yourself. Because you get a degree, and then after a degree, someone comes and say, oh, and then what else?
What else? Yeah.
And when you are trying to also move into that, trying to set your goals, it's a matter of then, in learning, you need to de-learn. I think it's important to de-learn.
Yeah.
Growing up, we were told, I think it happens in every kasi or township, Uguti, don't learn too much, you are going to be unemployable. And I haven't seen...
True, can't have CVs like
I
this.
haven't seen a company that has told somebody we can't employ you because you are too educated. Maybe because I'm not too educated yet. But maybe I'm going to get to that phase where they say, no, we can't employ you because you are very educated. But I think those things, maybe they happen in some government spaces where they say, no, our things cannot be like this. But people should aim at, becoming better versions of themselves. Each and every year, when we go into a new year, someone says, I know it's going to be just a change of date and stuff, but we need to have that thing in our mind that it's a refreshing thing. We need to start. That's why in the morning you can't not wash your teeth. Because
true.
you're saying,
you're doing this for the past few years.
I'm 32 now, I can't brush my teeth.
Yeah, true.
If you walk out there, then you must think, no, I need to do something. I need to brush my teeth. So even the new year, we need to look at it from that thing. It's a new beginning of things.
True.
And in so doing, then you need to set goals that we know that also you know your limits and that you have a bigger than what you have at the time. Then it should be fine.
And I love that. I love that about planning and, mapping things. I remember I was speaking to one speaker, was it last week or the week before, right here on this platform, and he was speaking about the importance of, mind mapping your goals.
100%.
Because I was then speaking to myself even earlier this week to say that I'm thinking of doing my postgraduate. And then, but what is the end goal?
Of that, yeah.
Of the end of that, eventually going into masters, then getting my PhD. But then what is the end goal? Would you then like to say, no, but he's a PhD candidate?
And then what?
And then what? You understand? But I'll definitely have to start looking
because,
into that.
There are professions which don't really need you to have those things. So you really need to have a master's degree and stuff. My friends who's in IT always says, I want to do these things of postgrad, but I won't get an increase at work, even if I have a master's.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter in this regard.
Yeah.
So it's that a person has to know themselves deeply, and then you can find meanings and you move forward.
I want to bring in this question to say, for someone who has a remarkable journey such as yours, I mean, you have served as a research assistant, a public speaker, lecturer, and academic tutor, and I suppose you did have challenges. I want us to talk about some of these challenges you also encountered, and tell us about how engaging is the long life learning contributed to building your resilience in that face of challenges and setbacks. But before, sorry to rudely interrupt you that. Do you mind that let's take a quick break and definitely get a glass of water, and we'll definitely be back. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you that if you just tuned in into your radio station, know that you are listening to TUT FM 96.2. We're amplifying voices, empowering lives, and this is another edition of Plug Graduate. Take a quick break and we'll be back. We are speaking to Mr. Siyanda Ngema, who is a lecturer at the Sefako Makgatho Healthcare Sciences University. And let me remind you that you can then send your questions or comments on our social media platforms. For WhatsApp or the Green app, you can contact us on 012-382-9257. I'll repeat that, 012-382-9257. We are live on Facebook. We are TUT FM 96.2, and X, properly known as Twitter, we are TUT FM _962. Also on Instagram, TUT FM 962. Mr. Ngema, that question that we were speaking about it offline, we'll definitely bring it in a moment. Just wanted to come and say, like I asked you before, to say, for someone who has then had, a remarkable journey as yours, I did mean that you served as a research assistant, you're a public speaker, you're a lecturer, an academic tutor. I suppose you did have challenges like everyone else. I want us to speak about some of those challenges you encountered. Tell us how engaging in long life learning contributed to building your resilience in the face of those challenges and setbacks.
Yeah. Where do I begin? I think, I'm going to try and facet the question into different categories. I'll start first. I hope she's listening. It's a pity. I forgot to tell her that I'm live here. I'll try not to. Okay. I think I need to mention this one. My stepmother, I never call her the stepmother, by the way. I always call her mom. Yeah, but I always say stepmother for the matter of context, so that it makes sense what I'm doing. Even my master's degree, I dedicated it to her. I think in life, I always believe, I would have faced more challenges if she was not there. But she's the person who saved my life, who made me the person or the man that I am today. And I always, give gratitude to her, Mrs. Princess Lindiwe Ngema. My mom is a teacher. So despite every challenge that I faced in life, I remember when I was in grade 6, when I began staying with her and my dad. And she said, today you are beginning a new life. Forget about all the former things. That was the time I went to the township. And from that day, then she started saying, in order to be a good person in society, you just have to always be humble and learn. Then I think from that day, she blessed me with the utmost gift of anything else that I've faced. When I would face challenges, I always had people coming for me. Primary school, high school, varsity. I think the way my dad chose her made it then to be a good journey altogether. The challenges I faced were more in, I'll say, varsity. High school, not much. High school I was actually a well-behaved kid. I was with my friends, Umfundo, Mthokozisi, Cyril, Juice, Undutuzonkosi. We used to be a I don't know. Okay. Yeah. So we were a group of 5. We always well behaved, and we were those guys by science. We were called guys by science all the time.
Always class A.
We used to eat apples during lunch. Apples. During lunchtime, everyone is buying amagwinya, and like I bought quarter earlier. It's in a apple, green apples, pear, and water sitting there. And we always be clean and stuff. But not about that. So the challenges that I faced more when I was in varsity. Varsity, I would say that academic challenges in particular. And some of them was because at times I would lose direction of, not wanting to study as I'm supposed to, not realizing my potential as well. I always tell people that I learned that I am a person who can master things through seeing pictures when I was in third year of my varsity. Before that, I never thought, I can just look at the book and master something like that. I don't write notes when I'm studying now, since that time in 2013, because I learned that strength of I can master something from just looking at it once, then I go through it.
Visual learner.
I'm a visual learner. I even told people when I talk to them, even undergrads, and say, when I was in my third year, it was the hardest part of my varsity because I failed a module. Then I had to repeat. But shockingly, this was a module which I was very good at. Right? It's called medical, surgical, and nursing science. Then I was like, but I teach my friends this thing every day. How do I fail it? I failed. We'll talk about it someday. Went and repeated in 2014. The worst part of my life. It was the worst year ever. And I thought, is this thing worth doing then if I have to fail? The first time I fail in my life, I'm failing when I'm just in university doing my third year, about to go to final year and finish my degree. Lucky enough, when I got to the workspace, I was placed in the nephrology department, which is dealing with kidneys. Now, a nephrology department is a super specialty of medical surgical. So what I failed when I was doing my third year,
now you're being there.
Now I'm in a specialty of it. I'm doing my PhD in medical surgical nephrology, which is something I failed in when I was in an undergraduate student. So I think that part is what was building me into seeing life differently. But in the midst of those challenges as well was just having being good with people. You know, my supervisors are very amazing who are supervising my studies. I think they make it so easy, man, when it comes to marshalling this life thing. I haven't really had much challenges in that. I think of it.
Nah.
I think
besides those ones.
Yeah, maybe I will say do I then ignore? I think I ignore some of the things which I perceive to be challenges because I try and solve a problem. I can't sleep with the problem. No. That one
you solve it. Solve for X.
At least if I have a problem, I must write that thing maybe for 5 minutes before I go to sleep. Then I'm feel satisfied.
They say that if you have a problem, writing it down, you solved half of it.
For sure. And I'm a person who can easily, seek help when I feel like something is going to overwhelm me. Maybe that's why then I would say I have not really had much struggles. But in that, trying to incorporate it into lifelong learning, it's a matter of just, collaborating with good people also makes life a bit easy for you. In the workplace where I was working before I came into where I'm working now as a lecturer at a hospital, I had a very good team of people who always supported me, and I think because it was women, it was a bit easier, every time when you have something. I remember one of the challenges was when I was studying with work, I separated with a girl that I loved, and I thought, I'm married to her and stuff, that lovey-dovey of varsity. Get to the workspace, you go down, how does this thing happen? I haven't been dumped so bad in my life, But in there, then people are like, hey, you can take a day off if you want to go and thinking, we are here for you and all these things. Just those small things. Man.
I want to then change the direction of this conversation and bring it into learning, lifelong learning and professional growth. And then it goes into the first question that Khonze was then asking you of. Now that you are a PhD candidate,
yes,
it makes you a doctor.
Yes, 100%.
You were a doctor before. How do we work that?
I hope I won't be in trouble with this one. But when I'm done with my PhD, which I'm hoping to finish in the next few years, I am going to be a doctor of philosophy.
Oh.
Right, and it's always confusing, even when it comes to that. And then how do you become a nurse and be a doctor in one category and more?
Well, then they say call Dr. Ngema or call Nurse Ngema.
Exactly.
Well, how will it work?
How will I work? I think it becomes much better because you find that most nurses who are having PhDs are not in hospitals. They are mostly working in academic spaces and more. And then, it's that thing helps with, then there won't be much confusion. But even patients, I used to forgive patients when I was working in the hospital who would call me sister at times. Like, sister, I'm like, sister. Me, sister. Sister, and then sometimes you just look at who is saying it and how are they saying it, but you look at the person who is in the deepest of suffering because of a specific disease and people I was dealing with, and you're thinking, they just see a person who's a nurse and they think it's supposed to be called that.
Yeah.
And then sister, it comes from the things of the nursing was from people who were part of the church.
True, yeah.
But my sister, they were helping people who were sick and all that. Then sister, because they will help soldiers. But sister, then you forgive these patients, right? But then now the issue of then being called doctor as a nurse later, how does it happen? There's a lot of them. We have a lot of doctors of philosophy in nursing because of their doctorate. So if you have professors who are in nursing, and people still can't believe at times, how can you be a nurse? Then you will be called a doctor. And maybe nurses who have PhDs are the ones who are supposed to be called doctors and not in
and now
because others literature says the other profession, people are called doctors there because the first medical doctor in the country was a person who had a medical thingy, was a doctor of philosophy from another country who came in here, and then but it's then doctor by default. But if you're looking at it in depth, it's a matter of MPCHB degree, a doctor without a PhD, but we will leave it.
Yeah.
We'll discuss it.
Now we bring in this question to say, so the World Economic Forum has predicted or predicts that 50% of all employees will then need reskilling by 2025. How does staying updated with new skills safeguard against career obsolescence?
I think it's good that also our council, South African Nursing Council, is now they are busy introducing something called CPD for a point. It's continuous development thing in the profession. So they've mandated that everyone who is a nurse in the country who wants to continue having that certificate of practice, they need to all the time adhere to a specific number of points that they must have achieved in their particular specific specialty. So if you are working in my space as a lecturer, for example, you must have done this number of points so that next year they can say you are still competent in that space, so that people don't lose the skill of that. So I believe that then it's a good thing that people need to upgrade themselves, and there should be systems in place to try and enforce that people need to be lifelong learners. They need to update themselves, and it's a matter of the times. I always blame some people that people have phones with them at their peril, but they don't make use of them accordingly. Sometimes a person would ask you, tell me, what this way, that way, and I'm like, but do you have your phone? Why don't you check this thing?
Why don't you Google it?
Why don't you Google it?
Yeah, right? I have a problem with people who do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have all the information. We are working with libraries on our phones, but we don't make use of them. The only thing is sometimes we tend to do things with the phones that are not supposed to be done. But the main purpose of it is we need to make use of the resources we have in our peril. I always tell students at times, I'm sorry, my reference is my students. What I mean, people who are students in life, because now I'm a student of life as well. At least, man, you need to learn something new, at least 1 hour per day. 1 hour per day, you need to keep on updating your knowledge in things. Then in that doing, you keep yourself updated and more. But like I said earlier, it's a matter of you, where do you want to head to, and what is the purpose behind doing something, and then you should be fine.
And the question here says, what are the benefits of pursuing additional certifications or degrees for career progression, especially in competitive industries? Because I do think nowadays a degree is just like matric.
For sure, because it expires after 5 years.
Yes.
It's quite a very broad question, but I believe that we are working more now in the country of evidence-based kind of things. Whatever that you say, we always say we need evidence. Unlike people who claim, I've done my research about this. We need evidence of whatever that you say you have done or you have acquired. And in so doing, then it's important that people need to enroll for particular degrees which are aligned with what they want to achieve in life. I always say I would not do justice if I was to die tomorrow having not done a medical law. Right, one of my goals is I want. You
want to beg all of those things. Yeah? You want to beg these things.
Medical law, then I'm done. Medical law, then I'm done. I think it's a very scarce or rather a rare profession, especially for people who are like me who are nurses. We're not familiar with that one. We always think it's done by people in other professions, but it's a very interesting, kind of space whereby you can defend patients for what is done to them, medical negligence and medical malpractice. You can also be in the side of a medical space whereby you are defending institutions against such things.
True.
We've heard lately that there's a lot of people now who find patients on the gate and say, hey, they treat you well.
Well, yes.
Have you seen those things too?
Yeah, I've read about it.
Exactly. And then you are thinking, hey, what is this decadence that is taking place? Then you're thinking, then why don't people do medical law? There's a lot of lawsuits. There are millions.
Because true. And also, I think it will help put justice to the health system in the country. We definitely know that you'd go into local clinics, public clinics, and you see the mistreatment there. I remember I fell during the year and when they took me to hospital. I stayed there without any treatment. I don't know for how long, to a point that I even got bad. It was like, let's leave. Yeah. So I think it's very important that we do that.
For sure. Then I think you're going to be my first client. To go there and claim something. I hope there are millions there. And you know, even facilities themselves. And the medical law, in a way, it's so broad. I like it because then even you can work for an institution or a hospital, be the one who defends the hospital against litigations. Because some people who come with fake things at times, you need to be able to do that. And all those kind of things, man. It's a very interesting field, which I believe that nurses should try tapping into, and even other people who may be interested who are within the healthcare space. And not only do, you know, people who are always thinking we should do public health when you are and all that, but medical law, I think, is the it's the future.
Let's take this one, and then I think we'll then take the last ad break before we close up and wrap up. You know, let's look into the role of mentorship in this, especially, you know, usually mentored employees are promoted more often than those without mentors. I think in your journey you have had many mentors, or any mentors who then played, you know, an imperative role 100%. In enriching your learning experience. Now, how can networking and mentorship, you know, enhance the benefits of long life learning and for career development?
My mentor currently is Dr. Pale. He is a hospital executive in one of the hospitals in the province. And I think the most important thing there is, we always say when it comes to mentors, you need to have somebody who is, you know, more knowledgeable than you are. You need to climb on their shoulders to see beyond what you've seen so that you can achieve and learn better. And I remember the first time I met Dr. Pale. It was just fun by our personality.
It's okay,
He's a numbers guy who is very accurate with numbers and all that. And he always emphasized on avoid saying something that you know not to be true. Like every time when you do something, you need to be sure of what you say and do. And I like that about him. Now, I first had an encounter with him, I think 2019, when I met him. And then he said, hey, I was speaking English. Hey, I'm Mr. Ngema. I'm told I need to come see you because we are going to mentor me and masters. Because we took this from class first as him being my mentor in academics. And then I made him my life mentor. And then, you know, from then he said, stop speaking English. Can you speak your home language? And then I spoke isiZulu. Then he said, you see, now you can express yourself better because of that. And I think mentors then, in that way, they play a very big role in our lives. Myself, I started getting my first distinction when I was doing my master's degree because of him as my mentor. Going into studying with my master's degree, I thought, Mina, I'm going to do a study which is focusing on knowledge of nurses about infection prevention in the kidney area. That's what I had planned to do. And I came with a proposal which was almost ready. And then Dr. Pale and Prof. Ramakumba, who were my supervisors, they said, oh, you got this somewhere. I'm like, no, I'm ready. This is my new idea. They said, how much has been done about this in South Africa? I'm like, there's only one study which has explored this area of work. Then they said, let's see. Then they said, no, you can't do something which looks the same as someone else. Even though you're doing it in a different area, you need to come with something new. So for your masters, you're going to try and do both quantitative and qualitative. I'm thinking, no ways. It's like I'm doing 2 master's degrees in one. They said, you need to try and spread yourself. You need to try and get out of your comfort zone. If you come with your already finished product, it means you want to copy someone. Try and create something new for yourself. There is no one who has done this study that you are focusing on the way you're going to be attacking it from today. So then that opened my eyes then to think, okay, then these people see for me more than what I can see for myself in the process. Then I thought, okay, let me try. Then, boom. Went on with the study and I passed my master's with the cum laude. And if it was of me, I think I would have just, went for the superficial and the simple thing. And it was my first distinction, like I said, after having done so many degrees. I got my first distinction when I was doing my master's degree. To mean that then the mentors were seeing for me more than what I could see for myself.
Yes, true, definitely.
Then that made me then now, even when I'm marshalling in my PhD, I don't struggle with quantitative or qualitative. I don't identify myself as a quantitative or a qualitative researcher. I'm just a researcher who does have a clue of both quanti and quali. And then I'm always now moving smoothly into that. Even now in my PhD, when I see something for myself, they'll be like, but we think as your mentors. What do you think of this? Try not to do something that is like others.
That is there.
And then through that, then I thought, I'm never going to let go of these people. Because through them, I achieve more than what I think I can achieve for myself. There are people, even themselves, who are so engaged in lifelong learning. So with that, they are like marshalling as an example to me that this is how it's done. Then I need to try and adopt what they do, but not exactly. But in the meantime, create my own path, not follow them the way that I may just then be rote learn into them. But then from that, I then learn that this is how I go. Every time we're sitting, we're starting, hey, you know, we have an idea of what. I go to my space, I'm like, hey, now I must bring my own new idea because of these people are so much into learning. They want to achieve something new. They're the ones who would say, okay, now we have a master's. What is next from here? Now that you want to be working here, what is next for you? They are just people who are always looking forward to more, which is then promoting the entire issue of lifelong learning. And then through that, I've gained, then I realized that I have to be a lifelong learner myself.
And I will take some, maybe 2 questions before I then change the direction of this conversation for the last minutes that are remaining to the social and economic benefits of long life learning. Bring in, let's talk about what the key benefits of, participating in workshops, seminars, and conferences for professional growth. How do these events then broaden one's knowledge and contribute to long life learning?
I'm going to take you. Are you a Christian? Are you a Christian?
I'm a believer.
Oh, I believe.
I'm a believer.
Yes. I'm going to say the Bible says, "Akekho umntu olayitha ikhandlela alifake ngaphansi." So you don't lighten a candle and then put it under the table. You need to put it on top of the table. Then you can see that you have light in whatever that you have. So I believe that when you attend conferences, you attend seminars, you gain this light. You take from what other people are doing and then you are enlightened. But also in so doing, you also take pieces of yourself into that yourself and you also empower others into that. Like if last time I attended the Congress in Joburg, the Nephrology Congress, where I got the award. By the time I left, I was not so fulfilled though as much as I would have wanted. Part of me was happy, okay, I presented, then I got an award. But I felt like I was teaching a lot more than I was gaining. I never really got a chance much to listen to other speakers because I was just this anxiety driven. I need to present. I present on Saturday, on Sunday, and the conference began Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So in that 3 days, I'm busy panicking about my next presentation. Then I end up not, and in wanting to present, I always strive to be perfect. That excellence of grade 10 teacher should be always makes me feel like I have to do it with that greatest preciseness. And every time before the presentation, I just submit my thing 30 minutes before I climb on stage. So you imagine the entire panic in there. Then I end up not learning. Instead, I want to be the one who wants to be listened to. That is unfair. I have to then next time and say, hey, let me just at least present once and share my own views, but I want to learn from other people. And through that, and in the issue of learning, the conferences are opening people to more collaboration as well, because you can sit in your corner and you think what you know is the best, only to realize later you are just a junior, you are a novice in that. But one of the times when I'm in the congresses nowadays, then I'm normally given sometimes a VIP space, and I'm busy with the bosses there. Then one day, I'm sitting there, I'm about to present. When I just throw my eyes into the crowd, I'm looking, there's about 3-4 people that I have cited in my paper that I'm going to present. I'm there thinking, did I cite them correctly? Because a person can say, I never said what you say. You know how sometimes I never said what you say and stuff. So it's that thing that is a kind of, trying to gain more knowledge and understanding what other people are doing out there and being open. When I went to this year, I went to Argentina in April to present a part of my PhD. And I learned that some of the things that we experience in South Africa, they experience in the countries like Brazil, Argentina, and Belgium. Or USA and UK, they're experiencing quite different things. And I would not learn that if I'm only in South Africa, in Haranguva, or Soshanguve, in Pretoria, just holding myself into that corner. I need to explore more than that. And through these conferences, you start gaining also other people who want to do with you because they see something out of you. I'm going to be working on a project next year, which will announce accordingly. I think we'll come also into here one of our campaigns. I'm collaborating with a lady called Uvuitumelo Madudumela. Yes, we spotted each other in the last Congress. We presented just after each other. And now we're thinking, they are saying in South Africa and other countries, there is a huge growth of kidney failure that is going undiagnosed. Did you know that? People come, kidney stages, stage 1 up to 5, right? And by the time you get to 5, it means then it's irreversible. You can't then be healed from that. So you need to then depend on the treatment of dialysis that we do. But now we're thinking, what is the gap? The gap now is people go up to that because they're not diagnosed in time. They need to be screened accordingly. They need to be diagnosed, and then they can be referred to better services so they can get proper treatment. So we are trying to promote that for 2025, which I hope TUT FM will call us, and we will come and we will do campaigns. We are trying to aim at doing a national campaign which will delineate on those specific objectives when the project is aroused. But we want to save lives because that's what we are for here. Like I said, we are striving to achieve sustainable goal number 3, better health for everyone in the world. And we want to do it in South Africa first.
I'll definitely take you on that. I still believe that we are not doing much, but we'll definitely push with those goals. I want us to take a very quick ad break, and then after that we'll definitely round up this conversation into the social and economic benefits of lifelong learning. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. A quick short break and we'll definitely be back. Definitely 10 minutes before the hour 9 o'clock, and as you know, at 9 o'clock we'll be leaving this building and giving this hot seat to DeRay William Masenya for the date night show. But I want to bring this conversation to a close and bring the social and economic benefits of lifelong learning into the question. Siyanda Ngema, I just want to take this question to say, we often talk about this, right? As an individual pursuit, given the benefits of long life learning, I believe that the government and companies should also be roped in. Now, is lifelong learning promoted enough? Do you suppose that companies are doing enough in terms of investing in their employees' lifelong learning? And I know that you cannot speak on behalf of all the companies, but do you think that at a company level, there's a general understanding of the significance of then investing in their employees' long life learning?
I think also there's a question that I would pose to people out there when it comes to that, to say, do people even understand the importance of lifelong learning itself? I think myself, from the experience that I've had when I was working in the hospital, a lot of times you would find that people will be offered opportunities to engage themselves in activities of lifelong learning, particularly when they have to go and upgrade their things when it comes to qualifications. And then when things don't pop, then they will start blaming the institution, say, why are they not doing this? Why are they not? But then you find that the institution has everything that it can give to them, but they are not, poking into the holes so that they can be able to get the resources that are available into that. It's those questions of, do people even know how they should navigate the processes? When people sign contracts, do they know that what companies has to offer for them when it comes to the issues of lifelong learning, even inside the companies? I said this to a lady a couple of weeks ago, and she went mad, and I learned later that okay, I'm sorry, but I was just teaching her a lesson and said, hey, we should avoid signing an official document when being chased by dogs. And he said, are you saying I'm a dog? Because I was going to sell me an insurance. And I felt so bad after. But I was like, oh, no, but I'm just saying that sometimes you guys want to push us into things that we should sign, but we are not knowledgeable about all these things. So it's those things of, you would find that in most spaces, the companies would have resources to provide people with these things of lifelong learning and opportunities, but at times people do not grab the things because they are not knowledgeable of what is there for them. But I believe that there is quite a lot of resources for companies that they can give to people in that particular way of trying to help their employees engage in this. But also life learning should start with the person themselves. You need to be the one. In some terms they will say lifelong learning and self-directedness. Yeah, that they try and combine these two and say they sometimes use synonymously and say it's also self-directedness. It becomes then hard to help somebody who is not self-directed. Then you want to help them in a way. So it's those things.
And let's take one last question to say, let's look at the significance of then instilling this culture of long life learning at an earlier age among pupils, especially given its impact, in enhancing civic engagement and democratic participation. Do you think that schools and parents as well can do more to promote that culture amongst the younger generation?
Yes, I believe schools should do this. It's actually the function of the school. And also, I was laughing when I was learning last year that I laugh when they say school is only built by the community. But now you find that there is a gap between the school and the community where it's located, which becomes a problem. People will go and destroy even the school, which is supposed to serve the community itself. Then that school does not belong to the community anymore. So the encompassing of both, trying to build close this gap between the school and the families, or rather with parents, then there would be a better space of doing so. If what learners are learning in school is not then what stamped in the families, it would not run well. You go to people who say, hey, at school they said we need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the parents would not support that initiative and say, hey, right? Then it's going to create a problem for a child to say, then how do I navigate life if I'm not supported at home through this? Then even in the whole thing, because when we choose even careers are part of our lifelong learning process. True. You find a person who wants to engage themselves in a particular stream or in a particular career, but the family say you cannot do that. What do you do in that process then? It means your entire lifelong learning process is going to have a distraction.
True, definitely.
Parents would force you sometimes saying we won't pay for you if you're going to do music. Then dance. What do you do? Because your plan is you want to be a musician. What do you do? So it's those things. So we need that stimulus from the young age to try and promote these things of let people be self-directed and support them instead of being against them into it. I'm always touched. There is a guy, I don't think he will be listening to this wherever he is, from Lukshin Langbuya Konemandane, where I grew up. His name was Ustino. They called him Ustino. Ustino, in class, he was a student law. He wanted attention of educators, I want to say lecturers, educators all the time. And behlupha benomngane wakhe behlupha like one of those guys abahlupha esikolweni. And I was like, this guy, this guy. Then you'll hate those people because you're thinking we all supposed to be in class, serious and stuff.
True.
But only to realize a person has not discovered themselves. When I was washing my car in 2019, my first Polo that I was driving, sitting in the car wash, I'm looking at a beautiful portrait drawn in there. I'm like, this is so nice. I took my phone. When I took a picture, then I saw drawn by Sting. So it's a matter of when does a person find themselves? Because also finding yourself is a very difficult thing in life.
True.
Yet people make it look like it's a simple thing to do.
True.
So in finding yourself, then that is when you can then try and encompass it into your lifelong learning. And if we have more people who are more engaged in lifelong learning in our lives, we will have then a better economy in our country, because people are going to take these things and impact them into their workspace, in their communities. We'll have a better South Africa.
Mr. Ngema, I want to say thank you so much for a beautiful conversation, and we do hope it does not end here. We'll definitely continue speaking to you. Thank you so much, and please do have a lovely evening to yourself.
Thank you very much, and for hosting me.
The Groundbreakers, Mondays to Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. on TUT FM.